occasionally people ask me why I still have a Patreon. And the answer is because I don't let ideology get in the way of business. And I give this advice to people constantly. It's like, business is the business. It's business. You make money. Make money in the business. Okay? Ideology is secondary. Secondary. No, but think about it. Like, what is my business model? I entertain you guys. I bring you the news. And the few of you that really enjoy that and want to support me, you can do so. And in exchange, you get my eternal gratitude. Like, that's the business model, right? And I do need the money. Like, now I'm getting married, planning to get a house with a loan, have children, right? So I need money. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry like, if I'm not being ideological. But it seems that if I'm not going to shut down my Patreon, they're going to do it for me. Because it's astonishing. It really is astonishing to see how they've managed to destroy one of the most productive and smart business ideas of the century. Like, it's a business idea that literally prints money with very little effort on your behalf. Like, Jack Conte was a genius. Okay, like, he noticed that in the wild there are various people. Like, you have the artist, you have the creator, the painter, the journalist, the game developer, and their fan base. And all you have to do is to take money from their fan base and give it to them. Like, that's it. That's the business. Okay? And you take a couple of percentages from the top. Like, how can you screw something like this up? How can you manage to mess something like this up? The answer is by hiring a trust and safety council. It's like, what do you need trust and safety for? You got the cops, right? Like, you got the police. Like, can't they be your trust and safety council? Like, if something goes wrong, can't you call the cops? No, apparently they got a trust and safety council that made people not trust them and feel unsafe from using their platform. Like, and this is not even political. Okay, we're not talking about politics. Like, hentai artists, okay, like people who like to draw, would find out that they're not allowed to stay on Patreon anymore because their drawings are harmful. No. Just get this in your head, okay? A guy in a room with a doodle crayon is harmful. Like, this is the society that Patreon thinks people live in, where you are at harm because a guy in a room is doodling. It's just like, let me tell you, okay? The idea of hypnoporn, like, maybe some of you are unaware of what it is, but I will try to explain it. It's a fictional fetish, okay? It doesn't exist in real life. It's impossible. Where, let's say a succubus hypnotizes someone in order to have coitus with her. That is banned on Patreon because that encourages rape culture. I'm not making this up, okay? Like, this is real. There are human beings out there who looked at that and said, you know what? This puts women in danger. If it's not for us, women on the streets are in danger. We need to step in. And there's this level of overreach. It's like Jack Conte wasn't satisfied with being a millionaire. Like, you get to be a millionaire overnight. Can you imagine that? Like, you get a mansion now. You know, you get a swimming pool. That's not enough. He wants power. He wants power. Muy power and control. I mean, I heard the hentai artist crying on Twitter a couple of weeks ago that he is not allowed to put his art on Discord because Patreon won't let him. Like, there's someone from Patreon talking with him, and it's like, no, you're not allowed to draw this. You're not allowed to put this drawing there. You're not allowed to do this and that. And like, what the fuck do they think they are? Like, that's the problem. You know, they weren't happy being the middleman. They weren't happy just taking money from one group and giving it to the another. No. They need to be Mummy and Daddy now. Like, they need the power of Mummy, and you need to be the little kid that looks towards Mummy begging for your allowance. And that's why a lot of people left. That's why they lost a lot of business. And it seems this is why they're getting sued now. Because in their infinite wisdom, when they created the terms of service didn't even think at the time that they're going to start banning people left and right. That wasn't in the plan. And if it was planned, if in the beginning they would have made it absolutely clear, look, if you want to use our platforms, we can ban you for whatever. We will take control of your IP, and we will tell you where you can post your art. We can tell you what you get to do with your art. They didn't do that. If they had done this, they wouldn't have grown. Like, people would have gotten for their competition. In fact, I am to argue that Subscribestar wouldn't exist if Patreon wouldn't start banning people. That's literally it. It's not like people went to Subscribestar because it has better rates. If I'm not mistaken, I actually lose more money on Subscribestar by paying, allowing them to take money off the top than I do at Patreon. Like Patreon actually offers a better service than Subscribestar when it comes to money. But like the problem is the censorship. That's the problem. That's why people don't go there. Like they managed to self-screw their business. It's insane. And you hear some of the stories, like you don't know how many are true or not, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, like you have to believe they're true. Apparently, like Jack Conte doesn't really understand much of how his business operates, and he doesn't have much control there. His Trusted Safety Council does, and they operate based like a protection racket, where if you're friends with them, if you know someone from them, you can break the rules on the side. You can do whatever you want. And if you're not friends with them, well, tough shit. In fact, they might even take your competition out if you know them well enough. Like, what do you think this thing with the hypno porn was? Like, do you actually think that they're worried women are unsafe? Or is it that if you reduce the number of people drawing hentai, then the people willing to give money to hentai artists are going to have less choices? It is very disgusting when you look at it. And the way that they've managed to destroy their business is insane. Like, money wasted for no reason whatsoever. Like, any economist looking at this would scream in horror. So what happens is that, again, when they made their terms of service, they didn't think that they're going to ban people for whatever. Like, they weren't interested in power. They were common sense people interested in making money. Now, they decided to ban an offensive comedian because comedy is horrible. Again, comedy probably makes people feel unsafe. Every time you make a joke, someone cowers in fear. Like, that's how powerful you are when you make a joke, right? And they decided, no, we're going to get this person banned. This person sued them. Well, not him, but his followers. He encouraged his followers to sue them. And based on the law in California now, and their old terms of service, they now have to do arbitration. Arbitration is like when you go in a place and you try to work things out. It's like, okay, how else can we get the money to go to our creator? Like that's arbitration. And according to California law, they have to forward the fees for each and every single arbitration process. So I assume this is more than just forwarding fees. This is probably filing paperwork. This is very difficult for them. And apparently it raises to the cost of millions of dollars. Now, I'm not sure, like, when you forward the fees, if you're going to get your money back. Like, I think the way it works is you put the money up front, you have the arbitration, and then the money gets spread. Like, you take, the other person probably has to pay. I don't know exactly how it's California now law. But it still, it damages the business structure, because now they have to file paperwork, now they have to forward money. They might not even have the money to forward. So it's really interesting, right? Why? Because they wanted power. That's why. Like, they couldn't just be happy by being millionaires. It is so mind-blowing when you realize that in 2020, people just being millionaires, well, that's not good enough. No, they need power. They need control. They need to exercise themselves upon other human beings. Right? Like, that's what it is. Like, the Trusted Safety Council is up there, and everyone else is the little peasant that's underneath them. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not legal. We do not tolerate this in a society, owning other people. Like, even the idea that a private company can do whatever it wants, which is the most ridiculous idea that's said only by strategic ANCAPs. The ANCAP that today is with communism and the hammer and sickle and the red flag, and he's taken down to the bourgeoisie and hit the rich, and tomorrow my private company can do whatever he wants. Like that's... Even ANCAPs don't say that private companies should do whatever they want. Like, I've not seen them use this argument when talking against Patreon. Maybe there are, I haven't seen them. But anyway, right. We don't have countries that allow companies to do whatever it wants. It doesn't exist on the face of the planet right now. Every single country regulates companies. Every single one. Throughout the world. Every single one. And most of the regulations, the more draconic seem to be when it involves people gaining a wage, when it involves giving people an income. That seems to be heavily regulated in every country, everywhere you go, everywhere you look, right? So what happens is, like, when you create the business that is censorship free, and you attract people that wouldn't have joined had they known, and your entire business is to be the middle guy between two groups of people, yeah, you should kind of fuck off when it comes to regulating those interactions, shouldn't you? You know, like leave it to the government. If the government doesn't like something on your platform, then I understand. But when it's simply about like, oh no, I'm not going to allow this because we don't like that this hentai artist draws pictures in a way we don't understand. Like, come on. You know, I would understand if they ban all the hentai artists. Like, okay, that's fine. But when you only pick and choose, yeah, that seems kind of weird, doesn't it? You know, it's like, again, hypno porn. What the fuck? And there was like some other hentai artists that drew anime girls, and it's like, well, we carbon date them and they looked young, and they didn't look young, by the way. Like we're not talking about lollies. Like they were just hentai girls from mature things, but it's like, oh, their facial features make them look young. It's like, well, did you carbon date them? What the fuck? You know, it makes absolutely no sense that we're talking about cartoon drawings, not actual human beings, right? But yeah, no, so let me know what you think. I'm very interested to see how this thing goes. If you want to donate to me, like if you're a new donor, I would appreciate if you go on Subscribestar. If you still use Patreon, like feel free to use it. You know, I don't put all of my eggs in one basket. In fact, if Patreon goes under, I will look for another alternative just to have like various websites that I can use. I just like Patreon because it's popular, but I don't know for how long that will last. It's not popular because it's a good service. It's popular because of its notoriety at this point. Yeah, kind of feel bad for Jack Conte in a way, but then again, I remember it's like he wasn't happy being a millionaire, and that what makes me not sympathize with him as much. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video.